Well, hello everybody. I am Pastor Steve Herring, and I'm the stated supply pastor at the Nahala Presbyterian Church in Scotland Neck, North Carolina, Cobb Memorial Presbyterian Church in Tarboro, North Carolina, and the Pine Tops Presbyterian Church in Pine Tops, North Carolina. Now, today is Palm Sunday. Today is the day that we would, I'm getting prompted to say the date, but I never have that in the back of my head. What is the date?
2020. Palm Sunday 2020.
Oh, just the year? Palm Sunday 2020?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, today is Palm Sunday, as I was saying, and the year is 2020. Now, what we're going to talk about today is the celebration of Jesus arriving in Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, the week before he died, the week before he was risen from the dead. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to take you back in time a little bit, kind of step by step, okay? So I thought I would begin with a visit to Rome in the year 1765. We're going to go to Rome in 1765. And I happen to have a print, and this print is Giuseppe Vari. It's a really nice antique print, and I'm going to ask Peter to come and just try to catch it as much as possible. There may be some reflection, but we're going to look at this. This is St. Peter's Basilica, and this is before St. Peter's Square was constructed, which required the removal of these buildings in here. But that's Vatican Hill. That is the Vatican as it stood in 1765. Now, the other thing I want to show you is I promised you last week that I would share with you my oldest hymnal. We've been playing around with old hymnals and old hymns and old music. So this one is the oldest one that I own. And we're going to get a picture of this corner right here, which is the Pater Noster. This is from 1723. And what I love about this particular arrangement is that this is a pulpit missal that is used in a Roman Catholic church in the 1700s. It is contemporaneous with this picture of the Vatican as it was in the 1700s. So now I want to take you to one more, perhaps slightly more familiar. You see, we are not Roman Catholic, we are Presbyterian Protestants, and we're all the same, by the way. Let me just make that little suggestion, kind of try to get that through your head if you can. It's all the same. It's all the same. We love to make divisions amongst ourselves according to our cultures, you see, that we belong to. And that's part of why I focus a lot on older Roman Catholic things, because we had a cultural dispute and a methodological dispute over how to interpret the scriptures that resulted in the Reformation and division and war and civil war and all kinds of conflicts that happened over time. So I want to bring you from the Roman culture to the American culture, okay? And it's very important that we do that on this Palm Sunday. I got this yesterday, and I am so happy to have it. Put it on my head, all right? This, can you see the back? Is a genuine Daniel Boone coonskin hat. I mean, rejoice with me. I always wanted one of these things when I was a kid. I really did want one because I watched Daniel Boone on TV. Okay? Now, so, can you sing with me? You ready? Daniel Boone was a man. He was a big man. From the coonskin cap on the top of old Dan to the sole of his rawhide shoe. Ooh, the rippinest, roaringest, fightingest man the frontier ever knew. Daniel Boone. Okay. My apologies to all of those of you who were not watching television in the 1960s, and my apologies for the great tonality of my singing. But Fess Parker was Daniel Boone. Now, I grew up watching Daniel Boone, and I grew up wanting to be Daniel Boone. And I don't think I was alone in that cultural desire as I grew up. And I think that many of us can remember many heroes of various kinds, cultural, mythic, powerful heroes that are part of and just part of our culture, part of who we are, part of what made us who and what we are. Today, we can't have church, and it's because of this terrible pandemic, and it is a time of tremendous cultural challenge to us. And it is a time in which we need to reach back deeply into our roots, into understanding who we are and where we came from. That by understanding who we are and where we came from, our roots, that we can find within ourselves the strength that will be necessary to face the sorrow and challenge and difficulty that the next period of history is likely to bring us, so that we can find in the history going back, if you visit the worship services in Roman Catholic churches in the 1700s, those people knew what plague was, because there were all kinds of diseases that swept through villages and swept through towns and swept through families at that time. You see, it's only been really about 100 years, really since the 1940s, when we invented antibiotics, that we have convinced ourselves that we are somehow impervious to the ravages of microorganisms. We're not. We know that now. So if you go back and hear the voices of the distant past, in those voices you can find the strength to deal with the challenges of the present. I'm going to take my Daniel Boone hat off. It just occurred to me that maybe for the sake of YouTube it might be wise to do that. What is our time limit, Peter?
We're at 9.5 minutes.
And how far can I go?
15.
Oh, I can go 15 at a shot?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, wonderful. All right, now I'm going to read to you the Palm Sunday narrative, and I've chosen the narrative as recorded in the Gospel according to Mark, and I'm reading today from the old RSV, the original RSV from the 1950s, and this is going to be from Mark, Gospel according to Mark, chapter 11, and I'm going to start with verse 1. When they drew near to Jerusalem, to Bethphage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent two of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and immediately as you enter, you will find a colt tied on which no one has ever sat. Untie it and bring it. If anyone says to you, 'Why are you doing this?' say, 'The Lord has need of it,' and they will send it back here immediately." And they went away and found a colt tied at the door out in the open street, and they untied it. And those who stood there said to them, "Why are you untying the colt?" And they told them that what Jesus had said. So they let them go. And they brought the colt to Jesus, and they threw their garments on it, and he sat upon it. And many spread their garments on the road, and others spread leafy branches, which they had cut from the fields. And those who went before and those who followed cried out, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the kingdom of our father David that is coming. Hosanna in the highest." And this was a fulfillment in the eyes of the ancient Jews of that time of a much older prophecy from around 500, 510 BC that is recorded in the book of Zechariah near the end of the Old Testament in the minor prophets. From Zechariah, I will read to you verses 9 and 10 of chapter 9. Zechariah chapter 9, verses 9 and 10. "Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout aloud, O daughter of Jerusalem. Lo, your king comes to you, triumphant and victorious is he, humble, and riding on an ass, on a colt, the foal of an ass. And I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and the war horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall command peace to the nations, and his dominion shall be from sea to sea, from the river to the ends of the earth." Now, one more reading that I'm going to share to you. This one comes to us from the book of Revelation, and this is going to be from Revelation chapter 6, and I'm going to just start reading with verse 1 from chapter 6. I think I'm going to go through about the first 8 verses of chapter 6. "Now, I saw when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say, as with a voice of thunder, 'Come!' And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. And when he opened the 2nd seal, I heard a 2nd living creature say, 'Come!' And out came another horse, bright red, and its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people would slay one another, and he was given a great sword." And I gotta hurry here. "When he opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature say, 'Come!' And I saw and behold a black horse, and its rider had a balance in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures saying, 'A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, but do not harm the oil and wine.'" Now, I'm at the end of part 1. So if you want to find out what this means, click on part 2. Thank you, and I'll see you soon after this word from our sponsor.